Hey everybody, Michael Snyder, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today is Halloween, October 31st, the last day of October, and we're going out with a bang here because we got an atmospheric river rolling in. If you haven't noticed, take a look at that system there, and a lot of cold air across the Gulf of Alaska. The green is showing kind of the air mass characteristics, and this is some warm subtropical air here kind of mixing with this very cold air, and it creates a strong gradient, and it brings the strong jet stream into the Pacific Northwest, associated atmospheric river. We got a lot of rainfall incoming here, folks, and we're going to continue to have some active weather as we go on into this weekend and on through early next week. We've got wind potential as we go on through the day tomorrow, perhaps again Monday, and then we've got a deep trough setting off our coastline as we go on in through next week that could coincide with the king tides. So if we take a look here at the current Doppler radar, the combination here across the region, you can clearly see it is starting to rain across some areas. I got 1/100 of an inch already at my house right now, and this is going to interfere with some of the trick-or-treaters as we go through the day today as well. So another look here at that atmospheric river, you can see it's pouring in here. And then as we go through the day Saturday, see that little wrinkle right there? That has wind potential with it as well across some of the region. And then we go on in through Monday, we do have the potential for another system, maybe moving in there as well. And then additional systems as you see the trough digging out off our coastline. If we take a look at the jet stream at 30,000 feet, if I scroll off in here, you can clearly see what is our atmospheric river. And again, at 30,000 feet, the wind speeds are, up over 180 miles per hour at times, even up over 200 miles per hour at times as we scroll on in through the next few days and towards this weekend. Look at some of these jet streaks out here. Yeah, pretty interesting stuff at what goes on above our heads. Now, you may wonder, why do we start to get active in the October, November, December, and on into the winter months here in the Pacific Northwest and along the mid-latitudes really of the entire northern hemisphere? Well, it's because we start to cool things down across the northern hemisphere, and of course the oceans are still pretty warm here from the long warm summer, and there's a lot of precipitable water out there. So you get these big clashes in air masses. So that's what's going on right now. We got the subtropical air clashing with much cooler air that spilled out across the Gulf of Alaska. And that's what's powering this atmospheric river here into the Pacific Northwest. And if I put this into motion over the 6-day period, you can continue to see what looks like a big purple octopus there across the northern hemisphere. These are Rossby waves, and these are troughs, and there's associated ridges and whatnot as well. And this tropospheric polar vortex does get stronger as we go through the fall and the winter months. And it gets further south, and that's why the Pacific Northwest gets put underneath the storm train as we go on in through this time of year. So if we take a look here at the European. In fact, I'm just going to show one of these. We don't need to show them both right now, but taking a look at what is going on across the Gulf of Alaska, we got that deep low out there, and there is our atmospheric river. And as we go through the day today, you can see that fire hose just really pointed at BC. Then it starts to take aim at the Olympic Mountains as we go through this evening. Western Washington, will the trick-or-treaters get rainfall? It's going to be close there for Portland, but it may start to fall as the trick-or-treaters are out there. Seattle is definitely more wet. Bellingham, portions of the San Juans, the Olympic Peninsula up into southwest BC, Vancouver Island, definitely wet. And then we watch as we go on in through the day Saturday. See that low pressure center there, that sneaky one taking a very favorable track for some strong winds. We got to watch that one because some of the models are showing some pretty gusty solutions as we go on in through the day Saturday. Then we scroll off into the future a bit more, and there's another system lurking out there as we go through the day on Monday. And then the deep trough starts to shape up here out over the Northeast Pacific Ocean, and it's bringing some additional rainfall. We'd get some big wave action out there as well, which of course starts to coincide with the king tides at this time of year. So some big tides, some lower pressure than normal, and some big waves could equal some problems for our coastal areas and even for interior portions of the Puget Sound and Strait of Juan de Fuca up into the Salish Sea. Now, looking at the high resolution rapid refresh, this composite reflectivity. So as we go through the day today, can see that rain right about 4 o'clock. It shows it coming across Seattle a little bit earlier across northwest portions, and you see the fire hose pointing at the Olympic Mountains. It gets down towards Portland right 7 or 8 o'clock or so, and you can see Toledo, Chehalis starting to get rainfall. Spokane probably okay. Bend, Pendleton, a lot of Eugene, Salem, a lot of the Willamette Valley down towards Medford. You're probably okay on the day today, but you see that precipitation just continue on in through the day Saturday. Finally, the frontal system starts to pivot as we go through the day on Saturday. Although Also notice we're going to cool off a little bit here behind the frontal system. The snow levels will drop back down from 8 to 9,000 feet, closer to 4,000 feet. And we got to watch for convergence zone activity, especially for Stevens Pass with this. You can see it coming through Snohomish County as we go through the day on Saturday. Can't rule out a clap of thunder with some of this activity here as we go on in through later on the day Saturday and then Saturday night, but shouldn't be a widespread lightning event or anything of that nature. Now, take a look at the North American model. This is running hot off the presses right now. So I'll put this into motion, and you can clearly see that low pressure center there coming in as we go through Saturday morning. And you see this recent run is actually deeper than what's been showing last night. And if I go to the 06Z as well, you can kind of see it has been uptrending a little bit in the strength of that low. So we got to watch this. Any difference in that low pressure center taking that favorable path is going to have big impacts on some of the winds reaching some of the interior areas. So again, we're going to be watching that very closely, and we still don't have great model agreement, and this is already coming upon us as we go through tomorrow. And if we look at the high resolution rapid refresh, we're looking at the 12Z versus the 06Z data. These runs go out 48 hours, but watch as we go through Saturday morning, and you see we got an uptick on the 12Z data as well. Look at that 999 millibar low right there, potent pressure gradient on the south side of that, and look at the pressure rise behind that as we go through the day on Saturday. So we would get some gusty winds definitely from that system. But you can see there's not a lot of confidence here because there's big differences between some of these model runs. I mean, even within the HRRR itself, that's a big difference. 1,008 millibar low versus 1,001. That would have big implications on just how strong the wind would get. So if we look at the high resolution, I'll show you what the differences here in those two runs would be. Look at that. On the left here, my goodness, it kind of a bent back occlusion rolling in towards Long Beach and Westport. And this is on the day Saturday. Look at that, 52 for Seattle, 53 for Everett versus what it was just showing 6 hours ago, much less on the wind speeds. It also carries across into eastern Washington. Some gusts could be approaching 50 miles per hour if that were to verify, and much less on the high resolution model on the right. So first things first, we do have some wind advisories up for some of the Northwest interior. We've got high surf advisories. Careful if you're going out there to the coast today or tomorrow. Actually increasing on the day today. Tomorrow, probably the biggest wave action. And we got the hydrologic outlook as well for this rainfall that's moving in, some higher snow levels. Could get some rivers up into action stage. We're not looking at widespread flooding, though, with this system. However, the rain's going to come kind of fast and furious across some areas. Make sure to clean those leaves out. You don't want a bunch of water skipping drains and coming down into your home or into your basement or whatnot. So we do have that. We have the high surf advisory up and down the Oregon coast as well, and I would treat that all the way up through Vancouver Island. Now, strongest winds on Saturday. The National Weather Service Spokane always doing a good job. They are picking up on some of that wind here across eastern Washington. Look at Spokane 45. And some gusty winds, kind of a crosswind there for Highway 2 and Interstate I-90 and I-84. Tri-Cities getting a bit blustery. Walla Walla, Lewiston, Idaho towards 35 miles per hour. And again, if that low comes in a little bit stronger, some of these gusts could be exceeded. Now, this is the tides here. This is right now where we are, that green line. And watch as we go on to November 4th. 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th. You see these bigger tides out there, and we have some storm activity. You can really start to cause some problems because these are the king tides. And start to add a few feet to those tides and you bring some lower pressure, and it's going to even exceed those values, and that sea level will be higher. And with some winds out there, it could start to cause some damage and some issues. Now, if we look at those waves, we'll go through the day today and can see they are increasing as we go through the day today. And as we go through Saturday, they kind of increase a bit more. We're getting some pretty good wave action on the coastline. That's why the high surf advisories are up for tomorrow. And then we scroll on in towards Sunday. We get a little bit of a break, but still elevated wave action. So you got to watch out for sneaker waves all weekend long. Another system arrives on Monday that may bring some locally bigger waves as well. And then we go on in towards next week. And I mentioned the king tides, and you can kind of see that troughing out there, spreading some of this big wave action towards the coastline as we go through Thursday, maybe again on Friday. Who knows? We'll have to continue to watch that as we go, because we know that king tides are coming, and you bring lower pressure and big waves that could really create a nasty combination. So again, look at that as we go through this weekend. That's Sunday afternoon, some huge waves rolling towards Vancouver Island. Now, total precipitation in inches. So as we're scrolling through the day today, this is about 5 p.m. You can see it is starting to rain for Seattle, Northwest Washington coast, and Bellingham, Southwest BC. The fire hose is enacted there on Vancouver Island. We scroll on in towards Friday morning, and you can see we're Saturday morning, sorry, we're about an inch of precipitation there by the time we get towards 7 a.m. on Saturday morning for Seattle. Portland getting some big amounts as well. You can see the rain shadowing though to the northeast of the Olympic Mountains. Don't forget about that. But some big amounts coming across the Olympics, some of the North Cascades, Southern Cascades of Washington, some of the northwest coastal areas of Oregon as well. And we scroll on in towards this weekend, and we go on into Monday's system. You can see some more rain spreading across the region, and then again that deep trough as we go on in towards the end of next week continues to bring precipitation chances across the area. So if we take a look at the fantasy forecast, we're looking off into the extended a little bit. There goes our initial system right there. The artificial intelligence is catching that low pressure system there, our atmospheric river. And then you can see that next system, it's a weaker low. It doesn't show too much wind with that next system, but some of the models like the European has been hinting at some stronger winds on Monday as well. So we're going to look at that in a bit more detail as we go through the day tomorrow. Still not having great agreement with some of these systems. And then you can see the deep trough forming as we go on in through next week. Multiple rounds of storms, frontal systems pushing on in through the Pacific Northwest are possible, including, some windy systems as you look far enough out into fantasy forecast range. That's all the way on into the following weekend as we continue to stay active. My goodness, look at that. Storm train for November engaged. So if you guys want a nice affordable home weather station, this one has basically no maintenance, no moving parts. It's all solar powered, fun stuff. Even when the weather isn't active, you get UV index, ambient light, solar radiation, tells you all kinds of fun stuff, builds a forecast for you, and immediately starts to broadcast that data to the web, and it stores it there for you too. So click on that link down below to save 10% off. 6 to 10 day temperature outlook. Look at that west coast. We're above normal. It doesn't mean too much at this time of year though. We're not looking at balmy heat wave or anything like that for the Pacific Northwest. Just means we're kind of in that southwest warm, moist flow, and the 6 to 10 day precipitation is above normal there as well. That goes through November 9th. Check out the Patreon page if you like. Click like and subscribe. We'll do this all again tomorrow. I may even do another video here tonight, depending on what some of these systems look like. And there's actually probably a pretty good chance I do another video or maybe even go live again tonight, because we got to watch out for this boundary back here, this battle between cold and warm air and these systems moving up here over the next couple of days. Could bring some wind to the area. And yeah, that's my cue. My son just walked in the room, so I'm going to take them off to school. Hopefully you guys are having a good day. We'll click like and subscribe. We'll do this all again tomorrow, and I will talk to you guys then.